The tarmac of Busan's Gimhae airbase gleams under a pale October sun. The air is heavy with anticipation, the kind that precedes not just a meeting, but a moment that could reshape global power balances. As the roar of engines fades, cameras turn toward a convoy snaking its way across the runway. Inside, US President Donald Trump is on his way to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping, two men whose handshake could alter the trajectory of world trade, security, and diplomacy. The motorcade, a column of black SUVs flanked by South Korean police escorts, glides toward the terminal. For weeks, both Washington and Beijing have kept the exact agenda under wraps, offering only hints: constructive dialogue, strategic recalibration, and mutual respect. But beneath those diplomatic euphemisms lies a far sharper reality. The world's two largest economies are locked in a battle over technology, tariffs, and global influence. As Trump steps out of his armored limousine, photographers surge forward. The moment feels deliberate. Every gesture, every glance choreographed for the global stage. He waves briefly before heading inside, his trademark stride measured and firm. Behind the glass doors of the Busan summit venue, aides from both sides have already assembled, clutching binders thick with briefing notes. Moments later, the whine of jet engines fills the air once again. A Chinese state aircraft bearing the red and gold insignia of the People's Republic taxis to a halt. The arrival of Xi Jinping is met with a meticulously organized welcome. South Korean honor guards at attention, red carpets unfurled, cameras trained on the aircraft's stairway. The symbolism is unmistakable. Busan has become the newest stage for a global duel. Xi descends with a calm composure that contrasts Trump's showmanship. Behind him, senior Chinese officials, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Commerce Minister Wang Wentao, and several members of the Politburo's Foreign Affairs Commission follow in tight formation. They know this meeting is not just ceremonial. For China, this summit is about redefining the post-pandemic economic order, one in which Beijing no longer accepts the rules written in Washington. As Xi's motorcade moves through the coastal city, the streets are lined with security. South Korean officers coordinate with American and Chinese detail units, forming an uneasy choreography of power. Busan's skyline, dotted with cranes and shipyards, seems an apt backdrop. A city built on trade, now hosting the two men whose nations control 40% of the world's GDP. Inside the summit venue, the air is thick with quiet tension. Flags of the United States and China stand side by side, the stars and stripes facing the 5 golden stars on red. Translators whisper into headsets, aides shuffle papers. Every detail has been negotiated in advance, down to the seating arrangement. Trump and Xi are expected to meet for nearly 3 hours, the longest bilateral engagement since their last encounter in Osaka 6 years ago. The topics on the table are as wide as they are contentious. Trade imbalances top the list. Tariffs that have reached 145% on key US imports and 125% on Chinese countermeasures. Trump's team argues that the tariffs are leverage. Beijing calls them economic coercion. Then comes the issue of rare earth minerals, the lifeblood of the modern tech industry. China still controls over 80% of global refining capacity. Washington wants that dominance reduced. Beijing wants recognition that its control is strategic, not accidental. But the most delicate subject is security. Taiwan, the South China Sea, and cyber espionage. US officials have made clear that any easing of tariffs depends on assurances that Beijing will not escalate military activities near Taiwan or restrict data access to American firms operating in China. Beijing's response has been equally firm. Taiwan is non-negotiable, and economic cooperation must not come with political conditions. The Busan summit is being described by analysts as a potential inflection point. Not since the 1972 Nixon-Mao encounter has a US-China meeting carried this level of strategic risk. For Trump, who is now in his second term, this summit is an opportunity to redefine his legacy, from trade warrior to global dealmaker. For Xi, it is a chance to project steadiness and defiance, showing domestic audiences that China will not bow to external pressure. Outside the venue, the mood among South Koreans is mixed. Many see the meeting as an honor for their country, a recognition of Busan's emerging role as a diplomatic hub. Others worry that hosting the two rivals puts South Korea in the middle of a geopolitical storm. As the doors close behind the two leaders, the world watches in silence. Cameras are kept at a distance, reporters confined to a media zone. But fragments of the discussion leak through official channels. Trump begins by acknowledging the importance of stability and fairness in global trade, while Xi counters with a statement emphasizing mutual respect and equality between great powers. The first segment of talks focuses on economic cooperation. US Trade Representative Catherine Tai presents data showing the persistent deficit in goods, especially in the energy and agriculture sectors. The Trump administration wants expanded access for American soybeans and liquefied natural gas. Beijing's delegation, meanwhile, pushes for the removal of restrictions on semiconductor exports and AI technology transfers. Then comes the sensitive issue of fentanyl. US officials have linked the synthetic opioid crisis to chemical precursors originating in China. Trump is expected to tie progress on narcotics enforcement directly to tariff reductions, a linkage that has stirred debate within Washington. According to White House insiders, Trump intends to use the meeting to announce a new trade for enforcement framework, potentially blending economic incentives with drug control measures. As the hours pass, aides step in and out carrying notes. Trump leans forward during discussions on security, particularly the South China Sea, where US naval patrols have increased. Xi responds by warning against external interference in regional affairs. The tone remains controlled but unmistakably tense. Meanwhile, in Beijing, state media portray the talks as constructive and candid, highlighting Xi's call for cooperation without confrontation. In Washington, early briefings describe the meeting as tough but productive. Behind the diplomatic language, both sides are testing how far they can push without breaking the fragile truce that has defined US-China relations since 2024. Outside the summit venue, a small crowd gathers, protesters, journalists and onlookers. Some wave American flags, others Chinese. South Korean police maintain tight perimeters, their radios crackling with constant updates. Inside, the second session begins, this time focusing on global supply chains and AI governance. Xi outlines China's ambition to lead in artificial intelligence, semiconductors and renewable energy. He emphasizes that technology should serve humanity, not division. Trump counters that innovation must come with transparency and fair competition. Both leaders agree, at least in principle, to establish a bilateral task force on AI ethics and data security, a symbolic step, if not yet a substantive one. As discussions deepen, personal dynamics begin to surface. Observers note that Trump, often brash in public, adopts a surprisingly measured tone. Xi remains calm, speaking through an interpreter, often referencing the need for strategic patience. The contrast is striking, the transactional American negotiator facing the methodical Chinese statesman. By late afternoon, the two sides break for a private lunch. The menu is carefully curated, Korean fusion cuisine, symbolizing the host nation's bridge role. Trump and Xi share a brief moment of levity over a dish of bulgogi dumplings captured by the official pool camera. But the smiles are fleeting. Behind the optics, the unresolved issues remain: tariffs, tech, and trust. As the talks resume, the atmosphere shifts once again. Trump presses for a timeline on lifting China's export restrictions on rare earths. Xi insists on a reciprocal easing of US tariffs on electronics and green tech. Negotiators work feverishly to draft a joint communiqué, though few expect a breakthrough today. By evening, the two leaders emerge together for a brief photo opportunity. Cameras flash as they shake hands in front of the flags. Trump remarks, "We had a very good meeting, strong, productive, and respectful." Xi follows with his own statement. Dialogue is the best way to resolve differences. Neither mentions specifics, but their words suggest cautious optimism. As night falls over Busan, motorcades once again light up the roads, one heading toward the American consulate compound, the other toward the Chinese delegation's hotel. The day's events ripple through financial markets. Asian stocks rise slightly on hopes of easing tensions. Analysts on late-night broadcasts dissect every gesture, every phrase. Was this the start of a new détente or merely a pause before another confrontation? In the following days, both capitals will spin the outcome. The White House is expected to tout substantial progress toward fairness, while China's foreign ministry will highlight mutual understanding and forward-looking cooperation. But seasoned diplomats know that beneath the polished statements lies a complex reality, one where trust is fragile, interests diverge, and the balance of power is shifting. For South Korea, the summit cements its emerging role as a regional mediator, a host capable of bridging rival giants. For the world, it is a reminder that diplomacy remains both theatre and substance. From the roar of engines at Gimhae Air Base to the quiet corridors of the Busan Summit Hall, this meeting will be remembered not for what was signed, but for what it signalled, that even in an era of rivalry, dialogue endures, tense, imperfect, but necessary. The world's eyes now turn to what follows, the statements, the deals, the silences, because in modern geopolitics, what is not said in the room often speaks loudest.